And the very next day, not only is it nice and sunny, but we get a pretty thick frost. Nearest I can do to snow for the minute. If we do get any snow, I'll whip this one out and film it in the snow, I think, just for the sake of it. This is a tank worth having a bit of a think about, because it's the Russian response. Hello, somebody wants me. The Russian response to German concepts, and the instructions, as a good write-up here. The Soviet Army was influenced by the German development and adoption of the assault gun. This type of vehicle entered German service in 1940 in time for the Western Front campaign. They're referring in particular to the Sturmgeschütz 3. I may have pronounced that correctly, I probably haven't. And one of my little Bible books, Tanks and Other AFVs of the Blitzkrieg Era 1939 to 41 by Blandford Press from the 1970s, says of the Sturmgeschütz 3, an armoured self-propelled gun to support infantry in the attack was called for in 1936. So the Germans start developing this kind of thing in 1936, and the concept of a tank without a turret is, I think that's a remarkable leap, conceptual leap, so that it can mount a powerful gun and not worry about turning the turret. You turn the tank instead. And this little book says the Sturmgeschütz 3 was first used in small numbers in the Western campaign in 1940, and eventually over time, because the Germans were struggling with manufacture because they were under pressure, it says some Sturmgeschütz were used in place of tanks. When properly employed, they were very effective. Now that's interesting, because initially German kind of instruction manuals were saying you shouldn't do that, this is to support the infantry all the way through. So that's the concept. This is what the Russians see, and they quickly realise the importance of it. Unlike the British, and to some degree the Americans, the Russians really can think ahead. And they go for a couple of sort of not so good versions. The instructions leaflet says one of the first was the Su-76, based on the chassis of the T1/0 light tank. This appeared in 1942. It was subsequently used as an infantry support weapon, which is kind of what the Germans had in mind. But the Russian concept was growing rapidly, and they moved on. Plans were put forward to mount a 122mm howitzer in the chassis and running gear of the T-34 to provide a replacement for the KV-2, which was the famous tank with a massive boxy turret. A prototype was built in mid-1942. Stalin was greatly impressed and ordered immediate mass production. By January 1942, the 1st Regiment was equipped. 1943, the 1st Regiment was equipped with the newly redesignated Su122. It goes on to say it has a massive mantlet, which I think is phenomenal, makes it dramatic in the extreme. The frontal armour was up to 100mm thick, and there was a crew of 4. The Su122 would provide fire support for tank divisions. Platoons of 3 Su-122s would be attached to tank companies or battalions. Very, very different to the German concept until the very end of the war. It shows how they feel the need to pack a real punch against the powerful German tanks. The ideas for the Su-122 often became a substitute for a tank. In February 1943, production of the Su-122 ended in favour of the JSU-152, a similar vehicle based on the chassis of the KV or JS series of tanks. So you can see there's this conceptual sort of leap that the Russians are taking. But there we go. Now onto the model. And here we have a cannibalized shot from the little film about stowage I did. So I'm just going to pick up a couple of these. The strange just bundle of stuff at the bottom. That's going to go on one of the holdalls, and we'll see what else. See what works. But these are from that Red Zebra company, and they're really good. I can think of a lot of uses for these. The holdall is just a nice little touch. Holdalls have been around for a long time, so it seems like they might have had one. Who knows? So I've put a load of junk on and I painted it. I meant to show you it before I'd painted it. Some of it is purchased and some of it is homemade, and some of it, like that and that, I don't know where they've come from. Anyway, they're all largely based on photographs of the real vehicle from the Second World War that are available online. Although, having gone back to have another look, some of them aren't. I can't find them now. Goodness knows what I was doing. But anyway, particularly this kind of canvas thing hanging over the supports for the fuel tank, and this rather stiff arc around some boxes, and the fact there's a load of stuff hanging off the back. How they attached all this, I have no idea. I have put some little threads in here and there, which I can barely see now. Anyway, but there we go. That's what they did. This is very interesting. It must have been a very, very thick tarpaulin or something, because it didn't, in the photograph, it didn't take the shape of the objects it was sitting on. And you often find that with very thick textiles. So I've maintained that. It's made out of milliput, which I could easily have shaped into going all the nooks and crannies, but if they didn't have it on the real thing, then I want to follow that. So that's it for now. A bit of tidying up of paint work to do, bit of securing. I couldn't help noticing this one's a bit, ooh, bit of securing to do, and we're there. Right, stowage, bits and pieces. One side's got more than the other, and the back's got a whole bunch. And an appropriately grim day for some winter camouflage. Looks like there's snow on the way for real, doesn't it? Never mind. And some highlighted mud. Mud with a bit of highlighting. So I'm okay with that. You can hear that rumbling? That is real artillery over at the Otterburn range. So here is a rather grandiose looking tank, magnificently powerful looking, and ready for a long journey basically. I'm ready for taking on a lot. I've got to say, thinking about doing winter camouflage is what prompted me to put stowage on as well, because I can't imagine you'd want to go far in the winter without taking an awful lot of kit with you, because it's not just about the distance you're going to travel, as I was suggesting just now, but you do not want to get bogged down. You do not want to get stuck or stranded in the winter without loads of stuff. So here we are. I could have gone completely wild, but I decided against that. I might do that on another one. Which would be quite fun in its own right, wouldn't it? The other thing is, I don't know what half the stowage is. I always look for photographs on the internet and in books, and they have an awful lot of textiles, and I don't know what they're all about. That one that's sort of come apart and opens out is taken from a photograph of one of these, which I can't find now, and oh goodness only knows what they got that for. And I'd expect more boxes and canisters myself, but tons of fabric. There we go. So I'm alright with this. This is pretty much where I want it. I'm never 100% satisfied, let's put it that way. And there are some gaps. Don't know if I've mentioned this in one of the earlier bits, I did glue that down and it sprung up again, and I had it clamped and I held it, counted to 500, all sorts, come back the next day and it's sprung. That one is much better, thank goodness. But there we go. So quick review, pretty good model with a few bits that don't fit, as I've just been showing, and an enjoyable model to make, and one hell of a tank. Look at that. I wouldn't want to mess with one of them unless I had something like a Jag Panther or bigger, and there wasn't a lot bigger. There we go. I don't think it was that popular, and I don't think it's got a great reputation, but it looks mighty. The Russians very quickly came up with amended versions, so well done them for moving fast. So one last shot, looking morose on a very gloomy day. Ooh.